Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope you're all doing good, mashallah. Last weekend I attended a conference and I said to myself, I'm going to try to be there from the beginning to the end. Be like you guys, attending all the lectures. And I can tell you, this is a challenging thing. That's one of the challenges that we face, I guess. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who gathered us today. The word dhurriya, which you just heard in the verse that my brother said in Surah Al-Furqan, رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَجَعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. The word dhurriya, it's a very unique word. The word dhurriya was mentioned 32 times in the Quran, in 19 different surahs. This point, 2, signifies the word dhurriya, which it means offspring or children. Can you imagine all of us came back, if you trace back, we come from just one single family. And that shows you the power of the family, that it can make this large number of people. So don't underestimate the little family that you start today and how it will impact tomorrow the world. I think you will see so many lectures that you heard today and other than today as well about the importance of family and how can we make our family strong. And the Quran filled with verses is speaking about that. And one of the verses that I just heard my colleagues and my friend Shaykh Abu Isa saying, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا. O who you believe, protect yourself and your family from the hellfire. And he said protect yourself and your family, because you cannot protect yourself if you don't protect your family. You cannot lead if you yourself is weak, if you yourself not ready to lead. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَأْمُرْ أَهْلَكَ بِالصَّلَاةِ وَاصْطَبِرْ عَلَيْهَا. In Surah Taha, he said, order your family to pray and be patient with that. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to go to his daughter Fatima in the night to make sure that she wakes up in the night to pray. And he goes there and he knocks on the door, and they were missed night prayer. So he told Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anh, his son-in-law and his cousin, he said, why didn't you wake up? Then Ali radiallahu anh said, لَقَدْ أَخَذَ بِنَفْسِي الَّذِي أَخَذَ بِنَفْسِكَ يَا Rasul. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I slept, though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not let me wake up. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam didn't like the answer of Ali radiallahu anh. And he left and he was a little bit not happy with the answer. And he said that الإنسان وكان الإنسان أكثر شيء جدلا. Human being like to argue. You should say, oh, sorry, I would like to do it. Next time I'll be better. Instead of just saying, finding an excuse. This kind of family that the Prophet ﷺ look after his family, look after his own daughter, making sure that she prays. This same picture, I see it in the life of another scholar by the name of Imam Al-Awza'i rahimahullah ta'ala. And also Waqi' ibn al-Jarrah, both lived in the Middle East in what's known today as Lebanon and part of Syria. That's a mother was looking after her son. That's a mother who cared for the protection of her children, who cared to strengthen her children and to make sure that they are ready to face whatever challenge come in life. Al-Imam Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah, he was raised by a single mom, a single working mom. There are also single mothers. I want to tell you that it's the same thing. Sufyan al-Thawri, one of the greatest scholars in our history, one of the greatest scholars in our history. He was raised by this single mother, and she used to work and earn money and support him financially. And she said to him, son, every time you learn 10 lessons or attend 10 lessons with the Shaykh, look at these lessons. Did they improve your deen, your akhlaq, your mannerism? If it did, that's a good teacher. Stick to him. If it didn't, move on to find someone else. And lived there. 400 of the Prophet ﷺ companions migrated to this city. So it's a city known of knowledge. And in that city, in the time of the successor, there is a scholar by the name Abdul Malik ibn Abjar. So Waleed ibn Salt said, my father sent me there to learn under Abdul Malik ibn Abjar, and he said to me, son, when you go learn under these scholars, the only thing I want you to learn from him, تعلم منه توقيه للكلام فيما لا يعنيه فإني لا أعلم في الكوفة أكثر تحرزا للسانه منه. He said, learn from this scholar how he avoids speaking and talking about things that's not of his concern. He doesn't put his nose in other people's business. And I can go on and on and on, because usually when we think, by the way, about children, all what we think about it, we always think about how can we raise them, how can we protect them, how can we teach them, how can we provide for them, how can we protect the family, and so forth. These are the things that usually we talk about, and that's natural, because my brother said earlier that the Prophet ﷺ said, each of you is a shepherd, and each of you will be held accountable for his or her flock. Reported by Imam Bukhari rahimahullah and Muslim. كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. See, I feel that because I will be asked, held accountable, so I feel that responsibility on my shoulder. And also the Prophet ﷺ said, teach your children and family good manners and etiquettes. So because teaching manners and etiquettes, it's a very fundamental issue. And I think that's what make Brunny Bunch and schools like your schools here very unique, because the care of teaching our children from the early age the Islamic values and the Islamic etiquettes. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam summarized his message by saying, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I was sent to complete, to perfect the good manners that you have. And I said to myself, there is a lot we can learn from our children. There is a lot we can learn from our children. Have you ever thought about watching them and thinking about them in a different mindset? That instead of always think about what we can teach them, maybe let me talk a little bit for a few minutes about what we can learn from our children. And these are some few points that I want to share with you. When you look at our children, I learn from them perseverance. I have not seen someone have so much passion, a commitment. They don't give up easily like children. They are goal-oriented. Obstacles are ignored. And they focus on their goals until they get what they want. All too often, adults allow the challenges they face to discourage them from achieving their goals. Don't ever kill it in your children. Actually, develop it in yourself. We as an adult, often we give up whenever we see challenges in our life. Number two, a positive attitude toward mistakes. Kids, they have such a beautiful, positive attitude toward mistakes. You know why? Because mistakes for them, it's an opportunity for them to learn. And children have this very positive attitude towards mistakes. Before entering a school, inshallah not your school, but generally speaking, before entering a school and being told that being wrong is bad, that's not how the case is. Children don't dwell over the mistakes and use them as a learning experience. And I really wish from the bottom of my heart that we as adults could learn and to see our mistakes as an opportunity for us to learn and to grow, rather than fail and to be seen as a failure. Our success is not never failing, but it is raising every time we fall. Sometimes, brothers and sisters, Allah threw these catfish in your life just to keep you alert, to keep you strong, to keep you fresh. It's not meant to make you weak. It's not meant to put you down. It actually meant for you to learn from it and to strengthen you. Allah never decree upon us any difficulties unless He sees that it is an opportunity for us. Number three, children have the purest heart ever. Children don't hold grudges, forgive easily. Even though some people might disagree, so it doesn't sound like my son or daughter. No, they are. Even if they are a little bit angry, just after 10 minutes, they forget everything. Next day, they play. You know, have you ever seen how siblings do when the kids, they fight with each other, but again you fight. I just fight together, now you're playing. That shows you the purity of their heart. They are transparent about their feelings, but they are transparent, they are just pure heart. And I wish adults can learn that. Adults should learn to deal with one another with some level of sincerity. If you were to extend an act of kindness toward a child, he would easily forget the wrong things you have done to them in the past. Number 4, ability to adjust. Children are amazing, have an amazing ability to adjust to the new situation that you're in. You know, you move to a new house and they are the first people to adjust. Even when you move to, especially when they're young in age, they have this amazing ability. They adjust quickly to change in their lives. And they are resilient about flexibility. Unlike adults, rigid, resist change. They can't change, they can't develop themselves. And I'll tell you something, if you don't have the flexibility to change, you're never going to be able to grow. Al-Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah wrote a beautiful, many articles about the concept of sabr, patience. But one of the points I thought is very unique. He mentioned that one ma'ani sabr al-qudra al-takayyuf. One of the most important meanings of being patient, your ability to adjust to the new situation. If we want to face the future, if we want to deal with the challenge of the future, we have to know how to adjust ourselves to deal with these challenges that we will face in the future and what we're facing today. You know, smiling is such a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Most adults lost their smile. Alhamdulillah, you didn't lose it. It's right under your nose. So it's right there. The smile. And smiling is not going to make other people happy. Smile going to make you happy. All studies shows today that our physiology impact our psychology. Number 6, kids. One of the things that I can learn from my children, I hope you do too, discovery. Children are naturally curious. They are very curious about the surrounding. They're continuously discovering about themselves, their abilities, and the life around them, the world around them. Brothers and sisters, I said this last weekend and I'll say it again and again and again, because one of the greatest lessons in my life, when one of my teachers took me to the cemetery and he showed me the graveyards and he told me, Waleed, there is so many people buried in this cemetery. They have so much potentials. They have beautiful ideas that can change the world. But guess what? It's buried with them. Make sure when you go to your grave, Waleed, that you have explored and you have utilized most of your talents that Allah have given you. Don't let it be buried with you. And the same thing with our children, the same thing with ourselves. If we want to face and to be strong in the days that will come. By the way, I know that the end of the days and the fitan always sounds gloomy, always sound bad, always sound dark. But if you actually look at the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ talking about the end of the days, are not all dark, are not all bad. It talks about victory. It talks about salvations. It talks about the truth will prevail. The truth will be recognized. The earth will be blessed. It's not all about Ad-Dajjal. There is more about Al-Mahdi. There is more about Isa alayhi salam. There is more about the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So don't ever think only it is dark. Anyway, the next one, number 7, trust. Children are noticeably trusting of others. People who choose to trust tend to be happier. That's why kids are happy. And that's something I would like you to really think about. Unfortunately, we live in a time we don't trust each other very quickly. We have so much question mark and doubts and thinking bad about it. We don't have a good faith of one another. And that's something not how kids are. And I wish that also adults can change that. It is those who are trusting people easily They are more likely to be liked and trusted by others as well. Young children feel that they are the most beautiful, the fastest, the strongest, and the smartest. He is the smartest one. You know what? This is something so beautiful. Please don't ever destroy it in your children. Number 9, they are full of liveliness and activity. Anas ibn Malik said, I served the Prophet 10 years. He never ever, he's his servant, and he's a kid 10 years old. He said he never ever asked me to do something for him. Why didn't you do this or do that? Never. Can you survive 10 hours without giving order to your kids? Number 10, knowledge. Basically, our children have so much knowledge that we might not have. Generation of Google, smartphones. Our children are often exposed to useful information that we have never come across. If we learn to open our ears and to listen to our children, we might surprisingly get a lot of education that we never had when we were in their age. Sociologists speaking today about in one household, we might have 3 generations. It's interesting. About 50 years ago, or 100 years ago, when we say generation, we're talking about a period of time, it's about 25 to 50 years. That's called one generation. Today, they said one generation can be from 5 to 15 years old only. Actually, 5 to 10 years. That's one generation. So you might have college students belong to completely different generation than who is in the elementary. They don't talk the same language. They don't have the same expressions. They don't have the same way of communication. Even technology, they are completely different. There is a big gap. Can you imagine yourself, my dear parents, yourself, my dear teachers, how the gap between you and the kids? That's why you have always to preach this gap. You have always to listen to them, talk to them, so you can come closer and you understand them, so you can relate and make sense to them when they talk. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah said, مع المحبرة إلى المقبرة. I will always carry my ink and write and learn until the day I go to my grave. We should not stop at one point of our life. We said, that's it, I don't need any more education. Appreciation these treasures within our children, developing them, invest in them, invest in the institutes that invest on our children. Don't neglect them. Don't neglect your children, neglect these talents that are in your children. And in turn, they themselves might neglect these treasures, these points in themselves. We, waiting generation, better than our own generation. Youth who will strive to uphold what we have struggled to achieve. We're looking for a generation that will continue the great thing that you guys have started here or built here and in everywhere else in the world. Save the ummah now. We're looking for a generation that they will carry the responsibility. We're not like what Allah said in the Quran, وَلْيَخْشَ الَّذِينَ لَوْ تَرَكُوا مِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّةً ضِعَافًا خَافُوا عَلَيْهِمْ فَلْيَتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَلْيَقُولُوا قَوْلًا سَدِيدًا. And let those fear injustice, as if they themselves had left weak offspring behind them, fear for them. They are afraid that their next generation will be worse. فَخَلَفَ مِن بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ فَسَوْفَ يَلْقَوْنَ غَيًّا. They left behind them a generations that they neglect the prayer. They follow the desires. And what they will expect to meet? Nothing but disaster. What we plan today, we collectively going to collect tomorrow. Is your son from the beginning thinks about the responsibility and the future that is waiting for him? Is your son and daughter feel that they have a role to play in their country, in their society, in their ummah? You know, Hind, when she was walking with Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, and I will wrap up the talk, end the talk with this point. When Hind was holding her son Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, a man looked at Muawiyah and he said to Muawiyah, your son looks so smart. Take good care of him, because if this boy grow up, he will rule the Arabs. He will rule the Arabs. يملك العرب. You know what his mother said? He said, خاب وخسر. He's such a loser boy if he's going to rule the Arabs only. I want him to rule the world. I want him to rule the world. Is your son and your daughter think that way? Think that he is someone who will contribute to the world. He will be someone like a Shafi'i invested his mother on him, and she said, go to learn from Imam Malik. I want you to be a great alim. And he was Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah. Are you like what the Quran told us? إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لَكَ مَا فِي بَطْنِي مُحَرَّرًا. Ya Allah, I pledge what's in my womb to you. Because I know that this will make a difference. A girl or a boy. My brothers and sisters, your child, a child raised to be a righteous, is an active and continuous charity that will endure should you pass on before he dies. And guess what? And the greatest reward in your skill should he pass on before you do. I ask you today, my brothers and sisters, I ask you from the bottom of my heart that to think seriously about your role in this life, you and your children. Life is not so much about what you have accomplished, but what you have contributed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our children. And in the end, I would say to all my sons and daughters, my brothers and sisters in this room, no matter how tall you are, you always look up to your parents. No matter how tall you are, you always look up to your parents. That's how you should feel about your parents. They are a treasure, a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to you. And we, all of us, remember that there is a great future and responsibility in front of all of us. This life, my brothers and sisters, is not about what you have accomplished. Remember, it's about what you contributed. It's not about the results that you made. It's about the relationships that you built. It's not about the money you have made. It's about the differences you have made. It's not the impression that you leave. It's the impact that you have. It's not about your career. It's about your family. It's not about what you learn. It's about what you taught. It's not how you improved. It's about how you help and improved others. Are you building a strong resume for yourself, or are you building a great legacy for your country and your ummah? That's the question that you should think about. And I would like to say that whatever legacy you're thinking about, that you want to see in the future, it's absolutely determined on the legacy that you live today. So let's live up to this responsibility. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you and to bless your families, your society, your country. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who listen to the speech and follow the best of it. Sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And thank you very much for having me tonight with you.